I had one job: pretend to be my best friend on her blind date and be so unbearable that the guy would never call again. Mission accomplished. I dumped spaghetti on his designer suit, mentioned my toenail clipping art collection, and suggested naming our future children after Aztec gods. He practically ran out of the restaurant. Perfect. Except 3 days later, I walked into my desperately needed job interview and came face to face with my spaghetti victim, Alexander Reed, CEO, my potential new boss, and he definitely remembered me. I should have been fired on the spot. Instead, he made me an offer I couldn't refuse: pretend to be his girlfriend at one high society event to stop his mother's matchmaking crusade, and he'd hire me as his executive assistant. One fake date for financial security. Simple. Except nothing about Alexander Reed is simple. Before we start, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. This story gets absolutely chaotic, and you don't want to miss what happens next. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now let's get into this mess. I, Anna Torres, knew the blind date was going badly when I accidentally knocked an entire plate of spaghetti into my date's lap. On purpose. "Oh my God!" I gasped, watching marinara sauce soak into his expensive suit pants. "I'm so clumsy. This is so embarrassing." The man, tall, absurdly handsome, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent, stood up slowly. Sauce dripped onto his Italian leather shoes. His expression didn't change. Cold, unimpressed. Like watching paint dry had more appeal than sitting across from me.
"It's fine,"
he said flatly. No, let me help." I grabbed my water glass and dumped it directly onto the sauce stain, making it approximately 10 times worse. His jaw clenched.
"That's not helping."
"I'm just so nervous," I said loudly, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. "This is my first date in forever because my last boyfriend said I was too clingy and talked too much. And also I have this weird thing where I collect toenail clippings.
"I'm sorry, what?"
For art projects, it's totally normal. Anyway, do you want kids? Because I want 7, minimum. And I've already picked out their names. All of them start with the letter Q.
There aren't 7 names that start with Q.
Quentin, Quincy, Quinn, Quiana, Quaid, Kadira, and Quetzalcoatl. He stared at me.
"You want to name a child after an Aztec god?"
Culture is important, I beamed at him. Also, I should mention I'm very passionate about medieval reenactments. Do you own chainmail? Because if this works out, you'll need chainmail. A waiter appeared with napkins, clearly trying not to laugh. The man, I was pretty sure his name was Alexander something, wiped sauce off his pants with the careful precision of someone who was fantasizing about escape routes.
"You know what?"
he said, standing up fully.
"I don't think this is going to work."
Really? I made my voice drip with fake disappointment. But we have such a connection.
"We absolutely do not."
Are you sure? Because my astrologist said I'd meet my soulmate this month, and you're the only person I've talked to besides my delivery driver, and he's married.
"I'm leaving."
He pulled out his wallet and threw down what was probably enough cash to buy the entire restaurant.
"Have a nice life. Please don't contact me again."
He walked out without looking back. I waited exactly 30 seconds, then pulled out my phone and called my best friend. "Sophie, mission accomplished. Your blind date officially thinks you're completely insane. You're welcome."
"Oh, thank God."
Sophie's voice crackled through the phone.
"Was he mad?"
I dumped spaghetti on him and mentioned toenail clippings. He practically ran out of here.
"You're the best friend ever, Anna. I owe you so much."
Yeah, just remember this when I need bail money." I hung up, feeling pretty pleased with myself. I'd successfully sabotaged a blind date, saved my best friend from her mother's matchmaking nightmare, and got a free plate of breadsticks out of the deal. What could possibly go wrong? How I got here. Okay, let me back up and explain how I ended up committing culinary assault on a complete stranger. My best friend Sophie Hudson is a brilliant marketing executive. She's confident, successful, and has her life together. She's also being hunted by her very traditional, very persistent mother who believes Sophie's biological clock is ticking like a time bomb. 3 days before the date, Sophie had called me in panic mode.
Anna, I need you to pretend to be me.
I was currently lying on my couch in pajamas at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, eating cereal and watching a reality show about people who married inanimate objects, living my best life. Pretend to be you where?
On a blind date my mother set up.
I sat up so fast I spilled Cheerios on myself. Absolutely not.
Please. My mom found some businessman through her friend's network. She's convinced he's perfect for me, but I already have a boyfriend.
So tell her that.
I can't. David works in the mailroom at my company. My mom will have a stroke. She thinks I should marry someone appropriate.
Sophie made air quotes I could hear through the phone. So tell the businessman you're not interested.
He won't take no for an answer. His family is pressuring him too. He'll just keep rescheduling.
Sophie's voice went full desperation mode.
But if he thinks I'm a complete disaster, he'll tell his family I'm unsuitable and everyone backs off.
This is a terrible plan.
It's a brilliant plan. You go, act absolutely unhinged for 1 hour, and both families leave us alone forever. I'll pay for your groceries for a month.
2 months.
Deal.
That's how I ended up at Casa Bella, the fanciest Italian restaurant in Seattle, wearing Sophie's clothes and preparing to ruin a stranger's evening. Alexander Holland Reed III, age 32, CEO of Vertex Industries, some tech company I'd never heard of. Graduated top of his class from Stanford, never smiled in photos, looked like he practiced being intimidating in the mirror. Perfect target for Operation Disaster Date. My plan was simple. Be as annoying as possible. Make him think Sophie was completely incompatible. Both families back off. Everyone lives happily ever after. The spaghetti thing was improvisation. I'm quite proud of it. What I didn't know, what I had absolutely no way of knowing, was that my entire life was about to get extremely complicated. Because on Monday morning, I had a job interview at Vertex Industries for the executive assistant position, reporting directly to the CEO. Yeah. Monday morning. The interview. I walked into Vertex Industries at 8:45 a.m., wearing my only professional outfit, a black blazer I'd bought on sale 3 years ago, and pants I'd hemmed myself with tape because I'm 5'3", and apparently pants manufacturers think all women are 6 feet tall. The lobby was all glass and chrome and intimidating modern art. I felt like I'd entered a spaceship.
Anna Torres?
The receptionist smiled professionally.
Mr. Reed's office is on the 45th floor. He's running a few minutes behind, so you can wait in the executive lounge.
I took the elevator up, mentally reviewing my resume. Bachelor's degree in communications. 3 years as an administrative assistant at a mid-size marketing firm before they downsized. Excellent organizational skills. Proficient in all Microsoft Office programs. Ability to make excellent coffee. I could do this. I needed this job. My savings account was crying. The executive lounge was nicer than my entire apartment. Leather couches, a coffee bar with one of those fancy machines that probably cost more than my car. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seattle. I was attempting to figure out the coffee machine when a door opened behind me.
Miss Torres, Mr. Reed will see you now.
I turned around, smoothed my blazer, and walked into the office with my head high and my resume folder clutched professionally in front of me. The office was huge, massive desk, more intimidating art, a man standing with his back to me, looking out the windows at the city. "Mr. Reed, thank you so much for this opportunity." He turned around. Time stopped. Alexander Holland Reed III, spaghetti victim, toenail clipping confessor, chainmail enthusiast finder. We stared at each other. His expression went from professional neutrality to recognition to something that looked like he'd swallowed a lemon.
You?
He said. Me. My voice came out approximately 3 octaves too high. What a coincidence.
Coincidence.
He repeated the word like it tasted bad.
You're Anna Torres.
Yes, and you're Mr. Reed, Alexander Reed, the CEO of this company.
Clearly.
Silence stretched between us like taffy. My brain was moving at the speed of light, trying to figure out what was happening. The blind date was supposed to be with someone named Alexander Holland Reed. The CEO's name was Alexander Reed. Oh, God. He used his full name for personal stuff and shortened it for business. I'd sabotaged my future boss's blind date. I can explain, I started.
Can you?
He walked around his desk, sat down, and folded his hands. His expression was perfectly controlled.
Please. Explain why you pretended to be Sophie Hudson. Explain the spaghetti. Explain the toenail clippings.
I don't actually collect toenail clippings.
That's what you're leading with?
It seemed important to clarify. He leaned back in his chair.
Ms. Torres, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I'd appreciate an honest answer. Did Sophie Hudson send you to deliberately sabotage that date?
I could lie. I should lie. But something about the way he asked, tired rather than angry, made me tell the truth. Yes,
Why?
because she's dating someone her mother doesn't approve of. And she knew you were being forced into that date too. And she thought if you both thought the other person was incompatible, your families would back off and everyone would be happy. He was quiet for a long moment.
That's actually fairly logical.
Wait, really?
My mother has been trying to marry me off for 3 years. She uses her society friends to arrange blind dates with suitable women, which apparently means anyone with the right last name and no personality.
He rubbed his temples.
That date was the 5th one this month.
Sophie's on her 8th.
8?
He looked impressed.
How does she find the time?
She doesn't go to most of them. Sometimes she sends me.
How many have you sabotaged?
Including yours? 6. Alexander stared at me. Then, impossibly, his mouth twitched, almost like he wanted to smile but had forgotten how.
What's your success rate?
100%, you all run away screaming.
I didn't scream.
Internal screaming counts. This time, he definitely almost smiled.
The toenail clipping thing was effective.
Thank you. I workshopped that one. Silence again, but different this time. Less hostile, more considering.
Ms. Torres, I'm in a difficult position. On one hand, you assaulted me with pasta and made me think Sophie Hudson was an art project away from a documentary about serial killers. On the other hand, your resume is impressive. Your references are excellent, and I desperately need an assistant who's organized and competent.
I'm very organized and competent when I'm not pretending to be unhinged.
Are you, though?
I once planned a 300-person conference with 2 weeks' notice and didn't have a single scheduling conflict. I'm amazing. He picked up my resume, read through it again.
Your previous employer gave you a glowing recommendation, said you were the best assistant they ever had.
I was. They cried when they had to let me go during layoffs.
Why do you want this job?
Honestly, I need money for rent. But also, I'm really good at anticipating problems and solving them before they become emergencies. I'm good at making executives' lives run smoothly so they can focus on actual important work, and I make excellent coffee.
The coffee is important.
He said seriously. The coffee is crucial. Alexander set down my resume.
I'm going to make you an offer, Ms. Torres, but there's a condition.
Here it comes. He's going to make me grovel for the spaghetti thing. What condition?
My mother is throwing a charity gala in 2 weeks. She's invited every eligible woman in Seattle under 40. I need a girlfriend, a fake girlfriend, to get through one evening without being hunted.
I blinked. You want me to be your fake girlfriend?
One gala. You'd save me from an evening of aggressive matchmaking. In exchange, I hire you as my executive assistant. $65,000 a year, full benefits, 3 weeks vacation.
My current job prospects were definitely getting evicted soon and maybe sell plasma. $70,000.
68.
Deal. We shook hands. The Gala. The gala was at a hotel ballroom that probably cost more per hour than my monthly rent. I met Alex, call me Alex, outside wearing a dress borrowed from Sophie that made me feel like I was playing dress-up in someone else's life.
Ready?
He asked. Ready. What's my backstory?
We met at a coffee shop. You spilled your latte on me.
I have a thing with throwing beverages at you.
Apparently.
He offered his arm.
Just stay close and look like you enjoy my company.
I'll do my best. The ballroom was full of people in expensive clothes drinking expensive champagne. Alex's mother spotted us immediately.
Alexander, darling.
She descended on us like an elegant bird of prey.
And who is this?
Mother, this is Anna Torres, my girlfriend.
Catherine Reed's perfectly made-up face flickered with surprise.
Your girlfriend. How wonderful. How did you meet?
Coffee shop, I said, smiling. I spilled my latte all over him.
How charming.
She didn't sound charmed.
What do you do, Anna?
I'm an administrative assistant. The temperature dropped approximately 10 degrees.
How nice.
Catherine said in a tone that meant the opposite.
Alexander, might I speak with you privately?
Actually, we promised to say hello to the Hendersons.
It will only take a moment.
She basically dragged him away. I stood there holding a champagne glass, suddenly alone in a room full of people who looked like they summered in the Hamptons and wintered wherever rich people winter.
So you're the girlfriend.
I turned. A woman about my age, blonde, perfect posture, perfect everything.
Victoria Sterling.
She said, extending a hand.
Alexander and I went to Stanford together.
Anna Torres. I went to state school and have student loans. She laughed. Actually laughed.
I like you. Fair warning, though. Catherine had me on her shortlist for Alexander. She's probably having an aneurysm right now.
I gathered that from the way she looked at me like I'd tracked mud on her carpet.
You're exactly the opposite of what she wants for him, which means you're either very brave or very stupid.
Probably stupid. Victoria studied me.
He looks different with you. Relaxed. I don't think I've ever seen Alexander relaxed.
Before I could respond, Alex reappeared, his expression carefully neutral. Everything okay? I asked.
Perfect. Let's dance.
He led me to the dance floor, pulled me close. Your mother hates me, I whispered.
She hates everyone who isn't from her approved list of society daughters.
What did she say?
That you're obviously unsuitable. Wrong background, wrong career, wrong everything.
Sorry.
Don't be. That's exactly what I wanted.
We swayed to the music. He was a good dancer. Of course he was. Probably had lessons as a child. This is weird, I said.
What is?
Fake dating someone I dumped spaghetti on 2 weeks ago. His mouth twitched.
Life is strange.
Is that your version of philosophical?
It's my version of, I don't know what I'm doing, but let's see what happens.
The song ended. Someone clinked a glass. Speech time. We spent the next hour playing the part. Alex introduced me to colleagues and business associates. I smiled and nodded and tried not to feel like an imposter. By 10 p.m., I was exhausted from pretending. Can we leave? I whispered.
Please.
We said our goodbyes. Catherine gave me a look that could freeze lava. In the car, Alex loosened his tie and let out a long breath.
Thank you.
He said.
That was,
Painful?
I was going to say, successful. But painful works too.
Your mother looked like she wanted to have me investigated.
She probably will.
Great. We drove in comfortable silence. When we reached my apartment building, Alex looked at it, slightly run down, definitely not fancy, without judgment.
Monday morning, 8 a.m.
He said. I'll be there. I got out, turned back. For what it's worth, I don't think you're as terrible as you pretend to be.
For what it's worth, I don't think you're as chaotic as you pretended at that date.
Oh, I am. You just haven't seen it yet. He smiled, a real smile. Then he drove away. Working together. Monday morning, I showed up at 7:45 wearing my professional outfit and carrying a notebook. My desk was sleek, modern with 2 monitors, the nicest workspace I'd ever had. At 9 a.m., Alex's door opened.
Miss Torres, my office, please.
I grabbed my notebook and followed him in.
Here's what I need today.
He handed me a stack of folders.
Reschedule the Wednesday conflicts. I'm triple booked. Prepare briefing materials for Thursday's board meeting. Review these contracts and flag anything problematic.
On it.
Also coffee at 10. Black.
Noted. Over the next 2 weeks, I settled into the role. I learned that Alex took his calls while pacing, that he tapped his pen 3 times before signing documents, that he got a tiny wrinkle between his eyebrows when stressed. He learned that I organized files by color coding, which he admitted was efficient, that I stress-snacked on gummy bears, which he bought a jar of for my desk, that I could predict when he'd need coffee before he knew it himself.
How did you know I needed this?
He asked on Thursday when I brought him coffee at 3:17 p.m. You get a specific face when you need caffeine.
I make faces?
You absolutely make faces. He tried to look stern, failed.
Thank you for the coffee, Miss Torres.
Everything was fine until Friday. The problem. Friday afternoon, Sophie showed up at my desk.
Visiting my best friend who's been too busy for lunch dates.
She peered through the glass wall at Alex's office.
Wait, is that him? The spaghetti guy?
That's my boss.
Oh my God, he's hot.
Sophie.
And you fake dated him. Anna, this is a romance novel setup.
This is a workplace setup. Before I could argue, Alex's office door opened. He walked out with a woman, tall, blonde, sophisticated, Victoria Sterling.
Tuesday, then.
Victoria said, touching his arm.
I'm looking forward to dinner.
Same.
She walked past us with a polite smile. Alex turned to me.
Anna, can you block out Tuesday at 6 p.m.?
4?
Dinner meeting with Victoria.
Something in my chest tightened. Of course. He went back into his office. Sophie looked at me.
You like him?
I work for him.
Those things aren't mutually exclusive.
Sophie, I finally have a good job with good pay. I can't mess it up by developing feelings for my boss.
Or,
Sophie said slowly,
you could acknowledge that you have feelings and see if maybe he feels the same way.
he's taking Victoria Sterling to dinner. He doesn't feel the same way.
Maybe.
But she didn't sound convinced. Tuesday arrived. Alex's dinner with Victoria was at 6 p.m. I left at 5:30, went home, ate ice cream directly from the container. At 7:15, my phone buzzed. Text from Alex. Are you free to talk? I stared at it. Typed, sure, what's up? My phone rang immediately.
Hey,
Alex's voice sounded tired.
I need advice.
About?
Tonight didn't go well. Victoria's great. Smart, successful. We have a lot in common. But there was no connection. It felt like checking boxes instead of actually enjoying each other's company.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Are you?
His voice was quiet.
Because I've been thinking about something, about what makes a connection real.
My heart was doing weird things. What do you mean?
I mean that Victoria and I look perfect on paper. But sitting across from her at dinner, all I could think about was how you would have made me laugh about something. How you would have ordered the most expensive thing on the menu and dared me to try something I'd never normally get.
Alex,
I'm saying this badly. I'm not good at this.
what are you trying to say? Long pause, then,
Can I come over?
now?
If that's okay.
20 minutes later, he was at my door wearing jeans and a t-shirt, the first time I'd seen him in anything but a suit. He looked younger, more real. Hi, I said.
Hi.
He ran his hand through his hair.
I've been telling myself for 2 weeks that this was a bad idea, that you work for me and I shouldn't feel what I'm feeling. But then I went to dinner with someone who should be perfect for me, and all I wanted was to be with you instead.
I couldn't breathe. What are you feeling?
That I'd rather have complicated feelings for you than simple feelings for anyone else. That you make me laugh when I'm stressed. That you bought a jar of gummy bears and somehow that's the most thoughtful thing anyone's done for me in years. That I can't stop thinking about you.
That's the worst confession I've ever heard. He smiled slightly.
I know.
You're my boss. This is complicated.
I know that too.
We'd have to fill out HR forms. Everyone would talk. It could be a disaster.
Probably.
I looked at him standing in my doorway, vulnerable in a way I'd never seen. I think you're an uptight workaholic with control issues, I said. You plan everything to death and you've probably never done a spontaneous thing in your life.
Okay.
But you're also kind. And when you smile, really smile, you look like a completely different person. And I hate that I noticed that.
You hate it?
Yes, because this is a mess and I finally have a good job and I shouldn't. He kissed me, right there in my doorway where my neighbors could see. Kissed me like he'd been thinking about it for weeks. I kissed him back like I hadn't been trying very hard not to think about it too. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. This is a terrible idea, I said.
The worst.
We're going to have to talk about boundaries.
Definitely.
After.
After what?
I pulled him inside and closed the door. 3 months later, Alex and I were terrible at workplace boundaries. We tried. We filled out the HR relationship disclosure forms. We agreed on professional behavior in the office. It was messy and complicated and probably broke several employee handbook rules. It was also the best relationship I'd ever had. Your 3 p.m. canceled, I said, walking into his office with his afternoon coffee.
That gives me time to review the quarterly reports.
Already on your desk. He looked at the organized reports, then at me.
You're too good at this job.
I know. My phone buzzed. Text from Sophie. Dinner tonight? Want to hear all about this disaster you call a relationship? I showed Alex the text.
She's never going to let us live this down.
He said. Never. She's already planning the wedding toast about how we met.
Please tell me she's not going to mention the spaghetti.
Oh, she's definitely going to mention the spaghetti. He pulled me closer, kissed my forehead.
Worth it.
Even the toenail clipping story?
Especially the toenail clipping story.
You're ridiculous.
Only around you.
I kissed him, quick and sweet. I should get back to work. You have a meeting in 10 minutes.
What meeting?
The one I just scheduled so I could take an early lunch.
Abuse of power.
You love it. He pulled me back.
I really do.
6 months later, Alex proposed at Casa Bella, the Italian restaurant where I'd dumped spaghetti on him. He'd reserved the entire place. Rose petals, candles, the works.
I wanted to do this right.
He said, getting down on one knee.
No disasters, no sabotage. Just the truth. That you're the most chaotic, unpredictable, wonderful person I've ever met. You color code my life and bring disorder to my carefully planned existence, and I love every minute of it. Anna Torres, will you marry me?
I looked at the ring. Gorgeous, perfect, definitely expensive. On one condition.
Anything.
You have to tell people the real story of how we met. No sanitized version, full spaghetti disclosure. He laughed.
Deal.
I said yes. Sophie cheered. Jessica from the office live-streamed it to the entire Vertex Industries staff. Alex's mother looked like she'd swallowed a lemon but came around when she realized I made her son happy. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect, just like us. So that's how I ruined my boss's blind date and ended up marrying him. The moral of the story? Sometimes the worst first impressions lead to the best relationships. If you enjoyed this chaotic romance, drop a comment telling me about your worst first date. Was it worse than dumping pasta on someone? Let me know. Subscribe for more stories, comedy, romance, revenge, and everything in between. Hit that notification bell so you never miss the chaos. Thanks for watching. Until next time, may your blind dates be disastrous and your bosses be unexpectedly attractive.